Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my ministerial statement on the Girmit Day commemoration and celebrations. Mr. Speaker, on 29 December 2022, during the inaugural address to the nation, the Honorable Prime Minister made a pledge, and I quote, "I made a pledge to legislate for a Girmit Day public holiday to honor the settlers from India who began arriving here from 1879. They were starting a new life in an unknown land and stayed to become an integral part of our country. I reconfirm my promise to inaugurate that new national holiday in 2023, unquote." Mr. Speaker, the coalition government has declared and gazetted 15th May 2023 as the day to mark the occasion for Girmit Day as a national holiday. In the history of Fiji, Mr. Speaker, this is significant and also significant as 11th May of each year marks the Sharia shipwreck and the associated selfless efforts by our indigenous Fijian people in rescuing indentured laborers from this sinking ship, thereby making the first major historical event, creating bonds between our indigenous people and the indentured laborers. This was, Mr. Speaker, on 11th May 1884. The heroism of the indigenous people, the original inhabitants of the land, was exemplary. It deserves recognition because it was an act of valor. They demonstrated tremendous courage and put their own lives in grave danger by trying to rescue as many indentured laborers as possible. Mr. Speaker, they didn't know them. They hadn't seen them at all before, let alone even talk to them. But this was a valiant act of humanity. And this humanity has been the cornerstone of peaceful, mutual coexistence of the Itoke and Indo-Fijian communities, living side by side for the last 144 years since the beginning of indenture with the arrival of the Leonidas on 14th May 1879. Of course, Mr. Speaker, this mutual, peaceful coexistence has been shattered a few times, but it hasn't dented this bond. It was, is, and will be unbreakable, and it deserves our accolades. Mr. Speaker, more than 60,000 indentured laborers were brought to Fiji from India to work on the sugarcane plantations between 14th May 1879 and 11th November 2016. While some returned to India, the vast majority chose to stay back and call Fiji their home, working and contributing to the Fiji economy and overall growth. Mr. Speaker, the term Girmit, as we all know, is coined from the word agreement, the binding document between the workers and the British. They were collectively referred to as Girmitia. For Fiji, the significance of the Girmit Day is monumental. It is with the sole objective of making one Fiji a reality, a nation genuinely united in harmony, true nationhood of vision, hopes, aspirations, and a land of vast opportunities. Mr. Speaker, the indentured laborers and their descendants over the last 100 years have significantly contributed to the economic, social, and political development and advancement of Fiji. This is well recognized. They have lived peacefully and harmoniously side by side with other races. Overwhelmingly, this peaceful coexistence and cooperation, the willingness of our landowners to share their resources and land, and the freedom for the descendants of our indentured laborers to put in practice the language, culture, tradition, an integral part of the Indian civilization, together with the blood, sweat, toil, tears, and lives sacrificed by our forefathers, as well as the immense contributions of other races, has made Fiji what it has been for decades, the hub of the South Pacific. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Justice Jairam Reddy, whose speech as a grandson of an indentured laborer and as the leader of the opposition and as the leader of the National Federation Party to the Great Council of Chiefs on 6 June 1997, will go down as a defining moment in Fiji's history, rightly said, and I quote, "The Indians of Fiji, brought to these shores as laborers, did not come to conquer or colonize. Our ancestors came to this land in search of a better life, in search of a future they dreamed of for their children and their children's children. Though they traveled to these islands long after our ancestors, surely the dreams and hopes of those who landed from the Leonidas were not that different from those who came ashore after the epic earlier voyage from the west," unquote. Mr. Speaker, after 144 years, the time is right, not only for the celebration and commemoration of our rich history in this multicultural society, but for a reflection of the freedoms gained and lost on the journey. Our forefathers, Mr. Speaker, operated on the basis of freedom, human rights, dignity, and a virtuous living. The values that over a period of time guided our fight against the vices of the indentured system. Today, Mr. Speaker, many seem to have forgotten, and some would have us forget, those hard-fought for virtues and principles in support of those who have taken our freedoms in the past, but we have the perfect opportunity to put this right. In the Cabinet meeting, Mr. Speaker, say on 14 February 2023, and as announced by the Honourable Prime Minister, Cabinet approved the Girmit Day commemoration and celebrations to be held on 15th May 2023 this year, including the establishment of a national committee chaired by the Minister of Finance, Strategic Planning, National Development and Statistics. Mr. Speaker, say as part of the Girmit Day celebrations, a two-day international Girmit conference will be held on 12th and 13th May 2023. An amount of 500,000 has been approved for the Girmit Day celebrations, including a two-day conference. The government, Mr. Speaker, has also approved a 200% tax deduction for entities which provides cash donations in an account approved by government that will be used to fund activities related to the Girmit Day conference, including sports and other activities. The same amount, Mr. Speaker, has also been allocated to celebrate and commemorate Ratu Sela Sukuna Day. Moreover, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will also reach out to relevant donor agencies to solicit their support for this national initiative through direct financial contributions as well as support in kind. As stated, Mr. Speaker, the National Committee on Girmit Day has been established to organize and oversee all official government-funded activities and events to mark the intent and purpose of Girmit Day on an annual basis. Other members of the committee include Honorable Charanjit Singh, Honorable Agni Dev Singh, Honorable Shashi Kiran, representatives of the Girmit Council, representatives of the Girmitiya non-government institutions such as Global Girmit, representatives from the academic institutions, USP, FNU, University of Fiji, representatives of the Ministry of Education and other government departments and co-opted members. Amongst others, the National Committee, Mr. Speaker, says is responsible for organizing all official government-funded activities and events to mark the intent and purpose of Girmit Day on an annual basis. Ensure that conference and the Girmit Day events are conducted and organized within the approved budget. Ensure that a financial audit is undertaken in a timely manner, and also that the subcommittees keep and submit all the acquittals for budget utilized. And consider the adequacy of risk management and internal controls, as well as the accuracy of the financial reporting in a timely manner, including developing necessary standard operating procedures for ease of operations and for audit purposes. The National Committee, Mr. Speaker, has also established two subcommittees, Subcommittee on Conference and Subcommittee on Girmit Day Program. Mr. Speaker, a subcommittee on conference also been established, already been established. The subcommittee on the conference is responsible to hold an international conference on Girmitia to mark the historic National Girmit Day holiday. The conference, with the theme Girmitia Celebrating Fiji Inclusivity and Diversity, aims to create a dialogue among scholars from different disciplines on the selected themes and to celebrate Girmitia lives and identities. Mr. Speaker said the subcommittee on conference has already advertised and are calling for papers for conference. Papers are due on the 1st of May 2023. The subcommittee on Girmit Day program is responsible for finalizing plans for celebration and agenda for the Girmit Day, which will be held at Albert Park as the main venue. The celebrations are planned to be held from 12 to 15 May 2023. Mr. Speaker said this will be a wonderful opportunity for us to recollect our Girmit history and showcase this through the program. Mr. Speaker said the subcommittee is currently planning program and it will be inclusive, which may include essay, poster, poetry competitions through schools and various mainstream media, posting of videos of elders in the family and the recollection of Girmit stories to be done through FBC, songs and storytelling from stories we know, including riddles, quiz and poetry, food and culture, festival of different ethnic Indo cultures showcased at the Albert Park and maybe street markets during the week. A parade of different eras of progress of many descendants of the Girmitia. Archives to complete and launch digital plantation register and Girmit Pass in partnership with the Australian National University. Some of the key features of the program, Mr. Speaker, say are likely to be: one, the recognition of the Vanua of Rewa for adopting descendants of Girmitia, including a visit to Navilada with traditional ceremonies. Second, recognition and appreciation of Indo-cultural groups for keeping our culture alive, and recognition of different eras of development during the post-Girmit era. And four, acknowledgement of Methodist Church, Anglican Church for promotion of Indian girls' education during a church service on Sunday at Dilkusha, which was the first boarding for Indian girls at that time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Girmit Day celebrations will be a time for us to understand the history, context of how indentured laborers from India came to Fiji. The event will commemorate the many sacrifices and contributions our ancestors made to the country in terms of shaping the early economic landscape of our nation. Girmit history, Mr. Speaker said, is an integral part of Fiji's and Pacific history, and a day to mark this day acknowledges the significant social, cultural, economic, and political contribution the Girmitia and the descendants have made to Fiji. Mr. Speaker said the importance of making this event a wonderful memory, as this is the first national-based celebration on Girmitia after the 100th year celebration in 1979, is of historical and will be remembered forever. To mark this momentous occasion, we must reiterate our need as diverse communities of a great nation to work together for our collective free and secure future. Mr. Speaker, sir, this will be a celebration as well as a commemoration of that single momentous event that forever changed the destiny and the landscape of Fijian society. While the atrocities, trials and tribulations of the indenture system in Fiji have been well documented, the descendants of the Girmitias have moved on. This is evident in the way the third and fourth generation Indo-Fijians have integrated themselves into Fiji's landscape. As such, they have tied their own personal circumstances to the destiny of this country. And this coalition government, under the leadership of the Honourable Prime Minister, recognizes this aspect. The celebration, Mr. Speaker, will be a paradigm shift. That is, we are moving away from the rhetoric of the past. The coalition government is inculcating a new culture of dialogue, unity, and cooperation with political leaders, as well as leaders of other ethnic groups, to forge a new approach to politics in this country. This culture of dialogue will incorporate diverse opinions from a broad spectrum of the ethnic groups that make up this nation. As such, celebrations like this, highlighting a specific group of people in all their diversity, must be the cornerstones of processes of nation building. This is why, Mr. Speaker, this government, led by the Honourable Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka, believes Girmit Day is important to remember and reflect on the struggles and sacrifices of our forefathers for equality, dignity and justice for all our people. It will be a celebration where a nation comes to grips with the diversity that is its essence, a diversity that demands mutual respect on the basis of lasting social, economic and political advancement of our nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.